From insecurity to influence, lead with confidence by embracing your values. I can't stress how important understanding our own values, our own core values are. I remember many moons ago, I learned the hard way. I was approached for a new job and they basically headhunted me to come and do some work. I often talk about the LeadingME ladder of leadership. I reflect back and I remember not being in that centre column of leading me. That core of our body is leading me. That's where our ego is balanced. But we can go from side to side. We either big it up, and that is control and judgment, and that's the ego leading us to big it up, or we belittle, and that's usually blame and victimhood. And at this point in time, I know that my ego was definitely in that space of bigging it up because they'd come after me. They wanted me. And I went through the job interviews, etc. They offered the job, I got it. And it was at that point, maybe about a couple of weeks in, I realised I had not done my due diligence on the company properly. I had looked at the website and saw the values that they said they had, which fitted my values. Fantastic. I had spoken to some people. Some of them I wasn't that enamoured with, and some I didn't quite click. At the time, I didn't realise it was value match. There wasn't a value match with some people, but some of them were. Some of them people I'd met were. But I hadn't gone deep enough. I hadn't really looked at the values that were lived within the company. I also didn't know my values well enough. So how could I make a proper decision? And of course, that's why my ego went into bigging it up, because someone approached me for a job and this looked good and I could lay out everything. I got a great package. But the issue for me was they didn't share my values. And because they didn't share my values, that caused me issues. And I stayed there for 2 years thinking I had to be there to show that I held the job, and then I moved on. And I'd done a good job while I was there, but it was hell on earth for me while I was there. They didn't share similar values at all, right? The values that were just written values. That was it. When I say how important, but to be honest with you, Mahatma Gandhi, the great Indian lawyer and anti-colonial nationalist who fought for the independence campaign of India, he says it far better than I could ever say it. And I've used this on many occasions. He says, your beliefs become your thoughts. Your thoughts become your words. Your words become your actions. Your actions become your habits. Your habits become your values. And your values become your destiny. If that's not enough to make you go, oh my God, values are really important, I don't know how much more I can say. Your values become your destiny. So if you don't know what your values are, or you've only got an inkling of your values, then really you need to find out. You need to help yourself in your destiny. Right? Do you know what your beliefs are that are driving your thoughts, that drive your actions, that drive your habits, that drive your values to become your destiny? Because if you just keep thinking that you're one place and that's all you're ever going to get, etc., that's exactly what you're going to get. I want to touch on a couple of things today. The first thing I want to look at is how values help guide our decision making and define what priorities we take. The second point I want to look at is how values shape our identity and purpose. And the third point I'm going to look at is how values influence our relationships and the environment around us. Okay, so that's the main areas that I'm going to look at. So let's start with how our values define decision making and how we prioritize things. So when we understand our values, that helps us clarify what's important to us in life. It makes us realize what we want to do and how we want to do that, what's important to us, what we can leave behind. When you know your values, you can then prioritize your actions, as was mentioned, right? And that helps you make decisions with confidence. And you avoid being swayed by different people's opinions, the external people and pressures around you. You don't have to go there. And the thing is, when we don't know our values well enough, we often go to people to find out what they think, because you're trying to make that the judgment of what's right for you going forward. To canvass opinions, fine, but to be swayed by it because you don't know your internal values, that's not a good place to be. This alignment that provides clarity and consistency then helps you, so you can canvass opinions. But if you feel, and in the gut is where your values sit, you always know, even if you don't know exactly what your values are, you know when you're going against them. Because in that gut area, you feel it. You feel sick to the core. You think, oh my God, you become anxious about the decision you made or what you've done because it goes against your core values. So that's why it's so important that we spend the time firstly, because just to think about your values, if I ask you right now, what are your values? If you take any amount of time to think about that, you don't know them well enough. Is it worth sitting and doing? Absolutely. Reason? Because it helps me prioritize things in my life and helps me make decisions going forward that's right for me. Maybe not for other people, but right for me. I often talk about your values along with your purpose, your vision, are your own inner GPS to making decisions. I have a decision making made easy course, and one of the things we look at is values. And I say your values along with your purpose and your vision, which Decision Making Made Easy course helps you with, is your own inner GPS. It helps you make those decisions right for you every single time. You never have to sit and, oh my God, am I doing the right thing? We talked about from insecurity to influence. You're insecure because you don't know the me inside me, which is all about when I talk about leading me. If I don't know me, if I don't know what my values are, step one, I'm going to sit there and get lost and be unsure and don't know and canvass opinions of people who have never actually done what I'm thinking and doing. And they just give their opinions, which I could end up down somewhere else and then realise that's gone against my values because it feels it, but I actually don't know what my values are. So important for you to find out what your values are. The second point I mentioned was how values shape your identity and the purpose, your own purpose. So your values are an expression of you core. That's why I call them the core values, your core values. We may have many values, but it's the core ones, usually 3 or 4, 5 probably at the most, that guides us along the way, right? That helps us with our own identity and purpose. And in a way, this helps us manage, because the ego is part of the identity part, to hold that into that middle ground of leading me. If I know what those are, that allows me to reflect on my beliefs and my ethics, what I actually stand for. That's the core of me, right? Understanding values, it gives you insight into you. It helps you find your purpose. It's the first step. In fact, in the Decision Making Made Easy program, the first major thing we go into big time is our values. Then we go to purpose. There's no point in doing purpose before values or vision before values, because it's our foundation. I often talk about from the top of the head down to the bottom of your stomach. That's a big triangle. And at that bottom area where your gut sits, that's your foundations. That's where your values live. If you don't actually know what those values are, that won't help you work out what your purpose is. Right? And then you can find the vision much easier when you know those two, which then your goals align to. So it makes it really easy to align all your goals to the vision, value and purpose that you have. But without those values, I can't find my authentic self. The other part of values, which is so important, they're your boundaries. When I got to know my values so well, it was so easy for me to have my boundaries there, and not only have them, but it also helps me establish the boundaries with others, and big time helps me reinforce them when others try to break through those boundaries. And that's the bit that we allow people to do things and say things, and we go along with things because we don't know what our values are. We don't know how to be true to those values. And before we know it, we've done it. And if we feel sick and, oh, I shouldn't have done that. And oh my God, that is how important our values are. Condoleezza Rice, who was the 66th United States Secretary of State, she says, your values are your anchor, and they guide you, but they should never limit your ambition. Okay, so they are there as the guidance, as I say, the inner GPS. They anchor you in your beliefs. They anchor you in what you truly believe and you know is ethical for you. We can talk ethics all we want, but actually I'm only interested in my ethical beliefs and the way that I want to live my life. If I've not done the work to that, then no wonder I'll feel as if the anchor has been lifted, I'm drifting. Right? When it comes to what we are doing as far as our life, our purpose, if we will feel rudderless, anchorless, if we don't know what those values are, we will make mistakes. We will make the wrong decisions. Sometimes we'll make the right ones because we happen to allow the gut to guide us that way. And really the gut is the place of intuition. And women are very good with intuition. Men are great with intuition as well. It's just that it's been beaten out of men so often that it should be think it through and use your mind to make the decisions, right? No, if we actually lived in our gut area, decision making would become really easy. It's just that this brain is all about language. The gut and the heart are all about feel. And these are where our values, our purpose and our vision live. And if you don't know about the three brains, go and find out, because I've got things around everywhere about the three brains that are in your body. The gut brain is where your values sit. It knows when you've gone against. The heart brain is where your purpose sits. It's your why. And the vision is up here in your head brain. If you think of where your eyes are sitting, they're just underneath the brain. So we have three brains in our body, but to utilize them, we need to understand exactly where they are, and that's why they become the GPS that's there. So if you're enjoying this at the moment and you want to have more, I regularly give out and you don't want to miss anything, you can support the channel by going to the like button, subscribe, join the clan. We'd love to have you there and we really appreciate your support. And the other area that you probably get information is at magsbell.com/blog. You'll find lots of things there. So please subscribe, find out more if you're liking this sort of thing. So the other thing that I mentioned that I was going to talk about was how values influence our relationships and environment. So when we are fully knowing of our core values, that helps us connect with people. And remember what I said when I was canvassing people and finding out more about the company, I didn't realise that connection was values that I was having when people I was talking to, it wasn't quite connecting with, but other people I did. So they were sharing similar values, the others weren't, okay? So it helps connection. It fosters deeper and meaningful relationships. It makes it easy for me to work out who the connections in my life are easy with, because don't get me wrong, not everybody will share similar values. And note I say the word similar. We don't have the same values, because if you do your work really well with values, you understand you have your own definition of whatever value you come up with. So we don't have the same values, but we do share similar values with some people. And sometimes we share some values and maybe not others. And then that helps you go, I can have a meaningful relationship with this person with that, but maybe not here. Okay. And then you get to choose who you keep in your life and who you foster those relationships and that time with. It makes it so much better. It also affects the types of environment in which you thrive in. Workplaces are particularly obvious in that, because if you do, as I have often done, and I still do, when I'm bringing clients on and people on, I'm looking to see if they share similar values to me, because if they don't, it's not going to be a fun time for us. And once I really understood this, and I was in jobs at the time, I would ask questions at interview about values, my values, but I was asking them from their point of view about my values. Social circles, people that you really don't like and you don't like being around. Why are you around them? Because they probably don't fit the same social values as you have. Community, creating alignment with people around. Values are so important to do all of that work. So everything that's around you, the space that's around you, what you love, that's where you'll thrive. Having some time, take some time to understand your values are so essential for your own self-awareness, purposeful living, and creating meaningful connections with others. That's what will allow you to go from that insecurity to influence. That'll help you lead with confidence by embracing your values. If you want to know more about decision making made easy, because this has made you think, actually, I don't know enough about my values, my vision, or my purpose, then I'll make sure that I have it somewhere in the notes or in a link below, and you can go and investigate that for yourself. For me, for now, stay true, stay you, and keep bringing out that brilliance. Bye for now.